Folks, today we're talking about the second president of the United States, John Adams. He's fourth in intelligence, he was a Harvard man after all, fifth in integrity, but a painful 35th in ability to compromise. But let's cut Adams some slack though. Who could really follow George Washington? Unless you're The Empire Strikes Back, sequels rarely surpass the original. Now, if John Adams were in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he wouldn't be a brawler like Captain America or a showman like Iron Man. Nope, Adams is basically Doctor Strange. Both were intellectual giants. They were brilliant, but intellectually arrogant, and always struggling to find their place among a team of titans. Adams was a Harvard-educated lawyer whose sharp mind was his greatest weapon. He even called himself a natural aristocrat. Tell me that's not pure Stephen Strange energy. Their passion fueled them, but it also made them abrasive, difficult, and sometimes downright exhausting to be around. And Stephen Strange could see into the future, and John Adams knew that he would be forgotten. Even he knew that his contemporaries would eventually overshadow his legacy. And here's the thing, Adams may not have been the flashiest founding father, but the revolutionary generation tended to fall apart without him. Same with Strange. He's not the most popular Avenger, but the Marvel universe collapses without him. Both are proof that you don't have to be universally loved to be absolutely essential. Please welcome to the desk the one and only founding father, lawyer, and grumpy uncle of democracy, President John Adams. So, Mr. President, you helped write the Declaration, avoided war with France, and named a future Chief Justice, yet somehow you got only one term. How do you explain that?
Apparently, peace and principles don't get you reelected. If I wanted to be remembered, I would have picked an unnecessary fight with the French and arrested my political opponents.
Well, you also passed the Alien and Sedition Acts.
It was a different time. People were loud.
Speaking of loud, your vice president, Thomas Jefferson, pretty much replaced you in the nastiest election in U.S. history.
And still didn't say thank you for not going to war. Typical. Without my foresight to keep us out of war with France, there would be no Louisiana Purchase. The West Coast would be the Mississippi River.
Fair enough. Mr. President, one last thing. What's keeping you out of the top 10? You've got solid fundamentals.
The American people love you until you lead them somewhere they don't want to go, even if it's the right direction. Wait, I don't want to go. Please, I'm lonely. I don't want to be forgotten.
All right, folks, let's break down 3 big takeaways from John Adams' time in the arena. 2 lessons and 1 cautionary tale. Lesson 1. Resist the loudest voices. The year is 1798. Americans are furious at France after the XYZ affair. French officials had disrespected U.S. envoys and seized American ships. Congress, the press, even Adams' own cabinet wanted war. Hawks in the Federalist Party were practically begging him to declare it. War fever was spreading like wildfire. The newspapers mocked him as weak, and Jeffersonians accused him of being a monarch. And even Alexander Hamilton was sharpening his saber, itching to lead an army into battle. But Adams, he said no. Instead of rallying the nation to war, which would have been great for his popularity and re-election chances, he chose diplomacy. He sent new diplomats to France, calmed tensions, and quietly avoided what could have been a disastrous first foreign war. And it worked. America stayed out of the conflict, preserved its fragile economy, and bought precious time for the Republic to grow stronger. Sometimes the most courageous thing a leader can do is resist the mob, ignore the haters, and stay calm when everyone else is shouting. Adams lost re-election, but he saved the country from a war it wasn't ready for. It's a reminder that doing the right thing doesn't always win you points. In Adams' case, he lost influence and helped cement his place in history as America's most famous number 2. Lesson number 2. Know when to step aside. After losing a brutal election to Jefferson in 1800, Adams didn't throw a tantrum. And this wasn't just any election, it was one of the nastiest in U.S. history. Jefferson's side called Adams a wannabe king, while Adams supporters smeared Jefferson as an atheist. The campaign was full of fake news, personal attacks, and insults that rival modern elections. But when the votes were counted, Adams lost. So what did he do? He didn't barricade himself in the White House, he didn't rant in the newspapers. Instead, he quietly packed up, left Washington before sunrise, and rode home to Massachusetts. It was the first peaceful transfer of power between rival political parties in American history. That morning in March 1801 set a precedent that has defined the presidency ever since. Every president who loses no matter how bitter the fight is expected to step aside peacefully. The lesson? Real leadership isn't about winning elections or passing laws, it's about protecting the system itself. Adams understood the presidency wasn't his personal prize. It was an institution that had to be bigger than any one person. And while Adams didn't always have the people skills to win popularity contests, he had the foresight to put the republic above his pride. That quiet exit is one of his greatest contributions to American democracy. Lesson number 3, resist the haters. Adams had thin skin, like parchment thin. He was constantly feuding with Hamilton, Jefferson, the press, and sometimes reality. He loved to argue, as lawyers do, and he often took criticism way too personally. When journalists mocked him as pompous or attacked his policies, he didn't just roll his eyes and move on. Instead, he signed the Sedition Act, which made it a crime to publish, quote, false, scandalous, or malicious writing against the government, unquote. And here's the kicker. This was the same John Adams who had once defended American liberty during the Revolution, standing up for free speech and due process, even when it meant defending British soldiers after the Boston Massacre. But as president, when the insults came his way, his commitment to liberty cracked. Yes, Congress drafted the law, but it was Adams' pen that made it real. Instead of making him look strong, it backfired badly. The law hurt free speech, it energized Jefferson's supporters, and tanked Adams' popularity. Many historians believe the Sedition Act helped cost him re-election. What's the cautionary tale? Don't give haters the time. Not every critic deserves a response. Sometimes silence is stronger than overreaction, and Adams' failure here is a reminder that being a leader requires thick skin. If you spend all your energy fighting your critics instead of governing, you'll lose both the battle and the war. And now it's time for the outside evidence wheel. This is where we spin the wheel and land on a category: TV, film, music, first ladies, the arts, or pop culture, and give you an interesting piece of outside evidence that connects back to the presidency. Okay, here we go. And we land on TV. TV bus, this is for you. John Adams may have been America's most unpopular president when he left office, but HBO gave him a comeback tour in 2008 with the John Adams miniseries. Paul Giamatti played Adams as smart, cranky, and endlessly stubborn, but the real standout was Laura Linney as Abigail Adams. The series highlighted their marriage as a true partnership, full of letters, advice, and mutual respect. Abigail wasn't just a background figure, she was John's confidant, sounding board, and sometimes his better half. Historians have long pointed out their relationship was unusually equal for the 18th century, and the show put that dynamic front and center, almost like a colonial version of Taylor and Travis. The result, viewers didn't just see John Adams as the cranky guy stuck between Washington and Jefferson. They saw him as the cranky guy as one half of America's first power couple. That concludes this episode of the Presidential Bobblehead Show, where the only thing wobblier than our president's necks is the average AP U.S. history student's confidence before exam day. Don't bobble your shot at a 5. Use UWorld's comprehensive resources to keep your knowledge steady, your essay sharp, and your score from toppling like, well, a poorly balanced bobblehead. Be sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for our next episode where we fast forward from America's first one-term president to a man who thought he could do it all in one term and more, Lyndon B. Johnson.